Melanie Schaefer.
Good morning. I'm Melanie Schaefer. Thanks so much for being here for Journey Through Parenthood. I'm excited to spend some time with you here on the WSAZ Now Desk, talking about different things about how we can help our kids be their best and how we can be the best parents and guardians that we can be. Today we are talking about a pretty difficult subject. We are talking about talking to your teens and your children about sex. When do you introduce this conversation? It's pretty awkward in points, and I've done it 5 different times with my kids, but still it's a little bit uncomfortable to start the conversation. You know, you can wait for schools to kind of take up the conversation and educate your kids. A lot of sex education happens in school these days. However, sometimes your child will not hear it the right way, they will not absorb it the right way, and plus you don't have the opportunity to get your family beliefs worked into there. So today on Journey Through Parenthood, when to have the conversation, how to start the conversation, and some different resources that can help you on this journey. Here's today's Journey Through Parenthood. Good morning. I'm Melanie Schaefer. Thanks for being here for Journey Through Parenthood. This is a conversation we're having about all things related to raising kids, from little ones to teenagers to adulthood. And today we are talking about a pretty tough subject. Parenting teenagers is never easy. One of the toughest and more uncomfortable conversations you might have is talking to your children about sex. The talk, right? It is so important, and national surveys show that parents really do have a great influence over their kids' decision about how they feel about sex. And often kids share your very same values. So how do we start this conversation? Makes your heart race, I'm sure. We're talking today with Dr. Jennie Yoost. She's a pediatric and adolescent gynecologist with Marshall Health, a very big topic to talk about today. How do we get this started?
So I absolutely think that parents need to have a voice in this conversation, but I also think it's important for parents to realize that their kids are getting this information from a lot of different resources.
Oh, sure. They all have phones at this point, so they've seen things and heard things.
Of course, there's accurate information out there, and there's very inaccurate information. So they may be getting information from school through, comprehensive sex education. They may be getting it from community programs. They may be getting it from their healthcare provider, which hopefully were accurate sources of information, but they're also getting it from social media and from other websites as well.
Well, I mean, parents, like you said, they definitely want to try to relay how their family feels about sex, about when it's appropriate and when it's not. What age should you start having these conversations? I know I was surprised at how early it came up for mine. I had one child who was talking about it in kindergarten. I was not ready for that at all.
Well, so there's really...
I mean, their class was.
Right.
Their class had, let me rephrase that. Their class, someone in their class had brought it up, and so it kind of came into sideways a conversation. In kindergarten, again, that was what surprised me.
What's interesting is that there are, recommendations about age-appropriate topics kind of as kids grow and develop. And so obviously with younger kids, the conversation is a little simpler as far as, what body parts are called and, what our personal boundaries are, things like that. What makes a good friend? What are different types of relationships? But as kids get older, that develops more into sexuality discussions and sexual risk, and again, knowing your personal values, your personal boundaries. All of that's important in the conversation.
And of course, puberty. You need to discuss about all the changes that are coming, and kids are hitting puberty. It seems like younger and younger these days. It used to be that it was 15, 16, and now it's getting into those younger 4th and 5th grade. Sometimes kids are having their periods and developing all kinds of things. So the conversations are definitely starting earlier. This makes it so important to have a sex education conversation.
Absolutely, and I think it's good for parents too to know, what material their kids are learning, and that information is out there as well for parents to look into as far as, what is being taught in school. West Virginia does have a mandate for sex education, and parents can opt out of that if they want to, but they can also, get that information as far as what they're actually being taught in school as well.
So let's talk about the mandate. When does that start, and what kind of topics are covered at what age?
So it's a broad mandate, and again, the national standards are broken down by grade level, and so you can actually see, what topics are broached. Again, with younger kids, it's going to be more of personal boundaries, anatomical parts, things like that. as you get older, you talk more about puberty, which is more kind of like maybe 5th grade area. Into middle school, you're going to talk more about sexual risk taking, and then high school, becomes a little bit more complex from there too.
Okay, so the talk where people talk about the birds and the bees and where babies come from. Are you thinking 4th, 5th grade, or even earlier?
I think simple talks absolutely can start at that point. There's some really good even online resources for parents to understand how to phrase things. One of my favorite websites to give parents of young adolescents is a website called amaze.org, and they have these really great animated videos that talk about the birds and the bees, how to talk about that even with young kids, and even how to phrase things appropriately if you're worried about that.
Yeah, conversation starters are always helpful. Any clues you can give a parent on how to start it, because it feels so awkward. I mean, I have had this conversation 5 times and it still feels horribly awkward about explaining it. But you want your kids to, hear it from you first, for sure. So you need to have that conversation early. If a parent is still floundering around for ideas, how specific should you be getting? Do you let your child guide you and answer their questions and stop short of answering them specifically?
No, I think you need to address the questions your child has. I think if they ask you a pretty straightforward question, I think they deserve a straightforward answer. I think if we try to, not answer their questions directly, it gives the impression that, oh, this is something we just don't talk about. So it's okay to be direct, and, if they're not going to get the information from you, they're going to get their information from somewhere else. And so it's a good opportunity for parents to, be straightforward about these topics.
Now, one of the places they can get you, Marshall Health has developed something called Teen Talk. So tell me what that is and what kind of a resource it could provide.
Sure. So Marshall Teen Talk started several years ago. It actually started as a telemedicine outreach. So myself and some medical residents and students did reproductive health education through telemedicine to some high schools in McDowell County. And since then, it has morphed into this educational tool that's online. It's really focused for kind of 8th grade through high school, so that age group. But it's a succinct teaching tool that's teen oriented, where basically the user can go to the website from start to finish, watch very brief videos that are animated and easy to watch, and they get all the key components of what's called comprehensive sex education. So, talks about the menstrual cycle and anatomy. It talks a little bit about how pregnancy happens, healthy and unhealthy relationships, birth control methods, including abstinence, and then STD prevention.
It's good for parents to realize that abstinence is discussed in this, because that's reassuring to a lot of people.
Absolutely. So comprehensive sex education absolutely includes abstinence, but it includes all the other types of, pregnancy prevention as well. So that's the major difference.
Now, would you recommend that parents, go through this list, that go through that whole comprehensive list and watch all of the videos themselves and then introduce their children to it?
Sure. I think I always want to know what my kids are looking at, so I think it's good to look at a tool first, and so they can go to marshallteentalk.org and check out the videos that are on there and see what's appropriate for their child. And recommend specific, sessions to their kid if that's something they're interested in.
Or even watch it together and then discuss. I know it's hard to have these conversations, and there's so many different topics that are coming into play with gender identity and LGBTQ, and how do you discuss that with your child. So it's important to maybe preview those topics and then discuss it with your child as you watch the videos, if you choose to do that. What other advice would you have for parents about sex education and bringing the topic up and having their child ready for what the world is going to bring to their, to their life as far as this goes?
So one of the benefits of online resources and social media is that it's readily accessible. I mean, anybody can access it, and it's a format that people are very familiar with, and so that's a good thing. But the bad thing is that with every online site or social media post that's really good and accurate, and there is a lot of very accurate reproductive health information on social media, but there's a lot of misinformation as well. And so I think parents need to to really help their kids understand, okay, what is misinformation, what's not good, and what are some very accurate sites. And the other thing that I will say for Teen Talk is, yes, it's a succinct tool that you can do from start to finish and kind of get those key components, but there are other resources linked on that website that will give you other topics if you want more information.
I know I clicked on one of the videos that was linked to it, and it talked about religion and how religion plays a part in your sexual experience or how you view sex. So I thought that was interesting. I know as a parent, you know, you are a parent, I should say. You have 3 kids of your own, so you're starting these conversations because you have teenagers right now. What's it like to be on the other side of it?
You know, it's been interesting. I mean, this is what I do for a living, so I kind of went into, you know, this phase of life thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. And some of these conversations as a parent are difficult, but I do think that it's good to be upfront with your kids and just have that relationship where they know they can really ask you anything. And you're not going to be flustered or think, oh my goodness, where's this coming from? But just approach every question in a pretty straightforward manner and know that they can really ask anything.
Yeah, and I'm sure your husband's very thankful that you have all these expertise to bring to the topic, right?
I think
you're
so,
ready
yeah.
for whatever it is. Let's go back to Teen Talk because you talked about sources that are reliable and sources that are not reliable. How did Teen Talk, who helped develop it again?
So we've been funded by the Robert C. Byrd Center for Rural Health since 2014. So again, this is something that has been in development for many years. We use all evidence-based resources, and to date, we've had 4 publications on this resource. Most recently, we did a pilot study for this website with Marshall undergraduate students, and we, essentially gave them the website and said, hey, do this little brief curriculum and tell us what you think, and ask them, if you had this in high school, would you have liked it? And overwhelmingly, they said yes. And that study was published in 2021 in the Journal of Sexual Medicine. And so we now have what's called a prospective study, where we're actually studying young female adolescents, 14 to 18, and we're actually looking to see if this tool has an impact on reproductive health knowledge, to see, we're looking at a validated knowledge questionnaire to see if before and after we have any change as far as does Teen Talk improve your reproductive health knowledge.
And overwhelmingly, those Marshall students were probably, yeah, I wish I would have had this so I could have some questions answered. Like you said, I mean, a lot of it is, word of mouth. Kids say something or use a word that you're not really sure of, and they all kind of play it off like they know what's going on, and whether they actually come to moms and dads or research it. So this will help them maybe get that knowledge that they need to be responsible and help be in charge of themselves. What other guidance would you give to parents about sex education and talking with their kids? How often should it's not just I did see someplace it's not just a one-time conversation. It should be a frequent conversation and one that develops over time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you need to make the most of small opportunities. So sometimes, driving in the car can be a really good opportunity because you have a captive audience. So kind of, make the most of, small opportunities. I also would, if there are things that happen at school or you hear your teen talking about something, it's important to address it at the moment and say, okay, this is why this is right or this is wrong, and how do you feel about this? Let me tell you how I feel about this. So there are certain situations that you can really develop into an ongoing conversation.
I've always found that the carpool situations, when you're driving, you kind of hear things in the back, and then you can bring them up later. Even just music that they like. Sometimes you're like, oh my, and then you need to have a conversation about why that's appropriate or not appropriate. Sure. So all kinds of opportunities out there. It is hard to kind of zen up for as a parent to keep opening up that door and keep having the conversation, but it is important for our kids to be comfortable and be responsible. And teen pregnancy is dropping, so that is a good sign, that maybe we're doing a little bit better job in having at least more conversations than used to be had.
I would tell you that with teen pregnancy, it's great news. I mean, it really is kind of on the decline. We still, though, within West Virginia, our rate, just as a state, is higher than the national average.
And so still work to be done.
Yeah, still work to be done. and county by county basis, there are big disparities. So we have some counties that actually have very low rates and some counties that are very high rates. And so there are definite differences just within our state.
So we still need to keep working on this and just making sure that that's the choice that they want and not the choice that comes into their lives.
Sure.
So that they're ready for it. Anything else you'd like to add before we step aside?
Well, I would just say that, we talk a lot about teen pregnancy prevention and lowering STD rates, but I think there's a big gain as far as just knowledge about sexual health is empowering to adolescents, and that's really kind of what it's essential for them to make healthy life choices. So just improving their overall knowledge about sexual health is really what's going to lead them to make good strategic decisions moving forward.
All right. Well, we hope that people, use this new tool in the toolbox, Teen Talk, developed by Marshall Health. That you parents check it out with your kids, check it out by yourself, see if it's up your alley, and it can be something that helps fuel that conversation and gain to the knowledge, add to the knowledge for maybe both parents and for kids, because things seem like they're always changing lately. Jennie, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I know parents really picked up a lot of information. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here for Journey Through Parenthood. All right, what a great conversation with Dr. Yoost about, again, when to have the talk, how to have different topics to cover, and just how important it is that you play a part as a parent and a guardian in that conversation. Also want to share with you in past conversations I've had, having this conversation in the car is one place that people feel like is a good, safe space to have it with your child. Obviously parked, not driving, so you can both focus. But it is a confined place. They're kind of stuck there with you until the conversation's over. And also, I didn't think about this, but you can look straight forward and you don't have to have that eye contact. So if things get a little uncomfortable, the conversation can continue, but you can have that comfort of just, looking off through the windshield and not directly at your child, or your child looking directly at you. Can be just a little bit of comfort in what can be a little bit of a stressful conversation, but again, so important, like you heard Dr. Yoost say. I also want to show you some of the websites that she mentioned in that interview. The first one is Teen Talk. That's the site that Marshall has put together, and if you go to that, it's marshallteentalk.org. I'll have that link over on the Journey Through Parenthood website shortly. But if you scroll down this is their main page. It has different sections with overall sexual education. They cover men's health, women's health, all kinds of different discussion points here that you can look at. Also, I want to draw your attention to there's some local resources too. So if you need some help with something, they have different click points where you can head to the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the Foundation for Rape Information and Services, family planning, different things about birth control as well. If you scroll on down just a little bit further, there's support and advocacy organizations, and very important too, I want to draw your attention to this, support hotlines. If there is something that you are really struggling with, these are telephone numbers you can call to get access to different experts, and you can talk through the situation. They can give you some good pointers there too. Again, this is all at Teen Talk, which is marshallteentalk.org. Dr. Yoost also mentioned Amaze as one of her favorite sites, so let's go there. This is amaze.org. It will take you to a lot of different videos. They have posted, you can see right here, a lot of their different videos on YouTube. So if you scroll down here, you can see different topics that they cover. So talking about pronouns, when you're talking about gender identity, ways to stay healthy. If you click on this, it'll just take you to one of those videos. Again, this links you to the YouTube site where they have loaded their videos. And then these are the sort of the kind of cartoonish little short videos that you can watch and get some ideas on how to bring up these conversations. Your child could even watch this and then watch it together, and then you can discuss it afterwards. But that site again is amaze.org. So that's kind of what their videos are going to look like. Again, they're listed on YouTube. I want to also remind you how you can get in touch with us here at WSAZ on Journey Through Parenthood. If you picked up on some of this conversation but not all of it, the whole conversation will be listed over on our Journey Through Parenthood section on our website. So head to WSAZ.com. You can get at this two ways. You can click on this pull down menu, Journey Through Parenthood, and click on that, or you can also scroll on down on the main page and look for our tile here on the right side that says Journey Through Parenthood. So let's go in that way today. If you click on that, it will take you to our library of all the conversations that we have had. Earlier this week, we talked to Dr. Yoost as well, talking about puberty and periods. So that's a great conversation that you can maybe listen to as you springboard into this discussion about teen sexuality and sex education with your child. You could start there as well if you have a girl and you need to kind of get some ideas on how to approach that topic. But here you'll find all of the conversation we have had, some really great ones. As we head back to school, lots of kids worried about their skin, so we address some acne issues and how you can help in those situations. And then just all of our back to school information that we covered in the month of July. If you're headed back to school now, some already in, some headed in the next couple of weeks and days. So we broke it down through high school, middle school, elementary, and pre-K, all kinds of different topics that we talked about as we head back to school to make this a great year for everybody. So all you need to do is click on these individual segments, and then you can even grab the link and copy and paste it, send it to a friend, and you can share that information with somebody as well. Also, if you want to send us an idea of what you'd like us to discuss here, research, get some experts to talk about. This on the right-hand side of the page is where you can do that. Just fill out your name, your email address, and then whatever topic or comment you'd like to shoot over to us here at WSAZ comes right to us, and we will peruse it and get on that topic as soon as we possibly can. So we always love to hear from you, love to hear what you're thinking about as you are out there doing the parenting thing. We're all on this journey together, and if you're thinking about it, someone else is probably wondering, how do I approach that too? So we can all kind of pool our resources and talk through this friend to friend and approach all these big conversations that we have with our kids and all of the joys and stressors that come along with raising babies. Thanks for spending some time here with me on Journey Through Parenthood today. I have a bonus Journey Through Parenthood coming for you on Friday, so I hope you stay tuned for that. And I'll be back again Monday and Wednesday of next week. For now, have a great day.